The 9 Years Podcast.
Alright, welcome to episode 19 of the 9 Years Podcast. We are broadcasting live from Brisbane Road. I say live, well, we're recording it, but it's live at the moment. Obviously, we're going to try and talk over the PA here at Brisbane Road, but it might be a struggle. And it's very, very cold and windy here, but we're here to speak to a few fans before kick-off, get their opinions on a few things. Before we get to those, Stu, what's your opinions of Leyton Orient FC? Your first visit here, I believe.
Yeah, first visit here, so London Derby. It's quite impressive. I like the way that you can buy a flat in either corner and basically guarantee yourself a season ticket. You can notice all these people waiting in their few lads in a balcony waiting for the game to start and getting their beers in. So I quite like it. It's nice steep stands and London Derby.
It's been a proper London Derby with I'm sure some good banter between the two sets of fans this afternoon. We're going to speak to some of our own fans. I'm not sure about 1,200 here today, but it's certainly packed out in here.
Yeah, so still early for us here. There's probably 1,100 sold already and another 200 to drop in. So I expect it to sell out. Decent low roof as well, so actually it should be good.
And we're all very, very tightly packed in here, which is going to be very helpful because that wind howling around the stadium is freezing. So being so snugly packed into this stand with very little leg room is actually doing us a favour and keeping us a bit warm.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Luton, but to be fair, you can't get your seat at Luton. But no, it is a cold. It's getting us out of winter months now, isn't it? But we haven't got any of the northern trips or the heavy volume of northern trips. So I'd imagine a Hartlepool or an Accrington would be pretty brisk holiday.
It would be pretty grim. You had to get digging at Luton, didn't you? You couldn't leave it. You had to get a slide digging at Luton, didn't you?
It's always good to get a bit of banter with Luton. Didn't they lose again last week? They had a lead the other night. Let's move on.
Right. We spoke to quite a few fans actually before kick-off. We've got 3 interviews coming up with various supporters. We'll speak about what they thought of the team, selection dilemmas up front, how Neil Ardley's doing as manager. We're going to hear from them now and we'll introduce them as we go, and then afterwards Stu and I will talk about what happened over the 90 minutes here at Brisbane Road. Okay, we've been joined by George at Leyton Orient. George, what have you made of the stadium so far? What are your first impressions of Brisbane Road?
It's a lovely, there's quite a nice ground showing about the pillars right in front of us, though.
Yeah, Stu and I seem to have got quite lucky with our view, and so we're further forward, so we're going to avoid the pillars, but for a good number of our fans, I think the view is going to be obscured, which for £22 is interesting.
Is that what I paid? £22?
£22. Yeah, there we go.
I'll just give you the money, you pay for it.
There you go, I'll do everything for you, Stu. George, then, so today, what do you reckon? The big issue at the moment is we're thinking about front two, and which two strikers we're probably going to start with. We haven't heard team news yet today. Who would you start with up front?
Taylor and Aziz.
Taylor and Aziz? Why Aziz instead of Accrington?
I just think today, Leyton Orient don't seem like the most mobile team, and I think we lacked a bit of mobility on Tuesday night, and I think Aziz offers that.
So George, the burning question is, were you an Aziz fan last year?
Yes, I've always had faith, as are most of our fans, I think, now.
What do you think the reaction's been to fans? Because last year, it's safe to say Aziz's famous line was, Aziz offside. What do you think the reaction? Do you think people are eating a bit of humble pie at the moment, or do you think he's proving doubters wrong?
I think he's definitely on the way to doing that. If he carries on this way, there'll be no doubt as left by the summer.
And somebody else that's come in for a little bit of, I say criticism, but people are uncertain about at the moment between the fans seems to be our manager at the moment, for various reasons. What do you make of Neil Ardley's reign so far, and do you think he's the man to keep us take us forward?
Right, it's been very inconsistent, and I mean we've had spells of brilliance and spells of just where no one can figure out what's happened. But Neil Ardley, Tuesday night, some of the subs were made a bit late for I think most of our liking, but he's shown in the last month or so that he's getting on the right track. So I think he's definitely getting there in terms of forming himself as a manager.
So Tuesday night, I know you were there because I know you have your Velvet Club. Yeah. So people that who don't know you or heard of you, the ball boy. Yeah. One burning question I've always got is Ashley Bayes is actually as nutty as he looks.
Yeah. Yes, he is. He's more so than he looks. Completely mental.
On Tuesday night, so what was your feeling on Tuesday night? It was a bit disappointing, wasn't it? Do you think the keeper error, but do you think we should have won the game? Yeah,
we should have won. We had more chances than them. It's the same old story that has been all season. They've had one shot scored with our roads and haven't got anywhere near it. The luck and the wind was against us on Tuesday night. With any luck, it'll start coming for us soon.
And so to wrap it up, Sammy Moore, fans' favourite for us. What do you think of the reception you will get today?
We'll get a brilliant reception. I think we all loved him, and it was a terrible shame when he sort of lost his touch before he left the club. But I think hopefully he'll have a good game, but not too good.
Okay, we're joined now by Julian and Jasmine. Guys,
Hello.
How long have you been supporting Wimbledon?
I've been coming to the games for 9 years now, and have had a season ticket for about 7.
And I've been watching Wimbledon FC and AFC Wimbledon almost all my life.
Whereabouts you got season tickets then? Do you sit together in stand or in your terrace or?
We stand...
In the 10%, what was the 10%?
Yeah.
Well, we will always know it's a 10% end. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think generally everyone calls it 10%, don't they? I feel sorry for any sponsor now that actually changed it and so the Kevflow. In terms of today, we're 11th in the league now going in. Obviously Tuesday night we failed to beat Dagenham to win the playoff places. What's your thoughts on today? Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll win. It's going to be a good game, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good marker actually, because it's been disappointing the last 2 games. But I think if we can pick up at least a draw today, I think we potentially are playoff material. Time will tell, I guess.
Sort of looking at the last 2 games, we had the Wickham game where we were missing Jake Reeves and Christian Tunga came in for his place. Do you think it was unfair that Tunga then lost his place for the Tuesday night game? Do you think we need to start giving him a chance?
It's a little difficult for us because unfortunately, because of my work commitments, we've missed the last 2 games. So we've just seen the results and gone, like everyone else, it's not really good enough. But in hindsight, obviously, we had loads of chances to probably put Dagenham to bed. So we should have had at least a point more there. It is difficult with Tonga, I think, but it's just hard for us to comment because we weren't there.
So in terms of burning question, what batter would you start today?
I'm not really sure.
For me, it's got to be Aziz all the way. I think he's got stronger and stronger this season, and I think it was a mistake not to start him last game, to be honest.
So during the podcast, we last season Aziz was very much known for Aziz offside. That was very much a thing. Were you Aziz fans last year, or have you been turned slightly by him?
I've been spotting him all the way. I mean, every player has bad points and good points. So
I'm just of the opinion that play your strikers that are in form. You know, if Bayo's banging them in, keep playing him. If Aziz is banging them in, keep playing him. Whoever it is, whoever's getting the goals keeps the pace.
Looking ahead to today's game, we haven't got team news or anything like that, but the big thing that I've already spotted, and it's a big issue that we've had on the podcast, is that we'll be playing in green today. Now, Leyton Orient playing in red. There's no clash there, personally. Do you think we should be playing in blue away from home where we can be? Would you prefer to see us in blue away from home?
I think blue's our true colour, so I think we should show off who we are.
Okay, I like to hear.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, when that green kit came out, I hated it, absolutely hated it. But the more I see it, and particularly seeing it on the telly, I think it is actually growing on me. So it's a standalone kit, isn't it? So jury's still out, perhaps.
I always feel it's a bit of a marketing ploy. I think the more you see it, the more you tend to like something. And so we wore it. That's what I've been done very much with you. When I first saw it, I was like, and also I noticed that Apple Filmer now wears green boots with it as well. So whether that's the sort of thing. Finally, sort of today, obviously Sammy Moore. First time we played Sammy Moore. Are you going to cheer? Are you going to cheer when he comes onto the pitch?
No.
Oh, Jasmine, you don't know anything, you know nothing. Yeah, absolutely. Jasmine, you've got to understand he was a legend. Sammy Moore.
So he left.
No, there's a lot going on behind it that you don't know. At the end of the day, he Wimbledon through and through, and he deserves a big cheer from all of the fans. So.
Thank you very much. That's great. That's
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, now we've been joined by a familiar face and a familiar name to many of you, I'm sure. Ray Armfield has joined us. Ray, what have you made of Brisbane Road so far?
Well, I came here in August, I think, for the under-21 game, and I hadn't been here for about 30 years. Obviously, it's much changed in the 30 years since I hadn't been here, as in 3 new stands and 3 new blocks of flats in the corners.
So it's always been based here then? So the flats always been here, or are they obviously new additions on here?
No, they're new as well. I understood, first of all, that when they were built, they were going to be student flats, but they look rather grand for that.
Rather grandiose for students, yeah.
Some nice balcony views.
Yes, so very nice. It's like being back at Luton with sort of the washing lines hanging out for some as we were waiting outside. With
tell a chorus of we can see you washing up.
So the under-21 game, I believe, was Tom Beer scored, if I remember properly.
Yes,
here, didn't he?
Scored one and made one and looked very good. maybe sort of flatline a bit after
So it's interesting now. Our kids now, it's obviously a topic we used to discuss about on the podcast, but the kids now have been loaned out. Christian Tungo got his his league start last week. Do you feel a bit unlucky for him to be not starting against Dagenham on Tuesday?
Well, I think I kind of hoped that Tunga would start because he's been on the bench and been around the scene for a while, and did seem the obvious choice if you were going to go light for light rather than do positional moves and move leads around or whatever. So I was quite pleased to see Tunga start.
I think it was a tough. Wickham was tough, wasn't it? I think for those of us know Wickham, they played the game very well. They played percentage football and stuff. How do you think he got on?
He did okay. I know Wickham and other teams have got their share of youngish lads in the team as well. I think he was 18 last week. And perhaps those are the sort of games that you need our younger players to play in to get education, if you like.
Definitely education, I believe.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. We've got lots of sort of player selection issues, I should say, at the moment. The big question we're asking today is the front two. If you were in charge, who would be starting today?
Today I think my front two would be Aziz and Taylor, but what does worry me a bit is Neil perhaps turning into a bit of a tinkerman with the 4 options that he's got up front. It does never seem to be the same two every week, which is a bit of a worry and perhaps a worry for the players as well.
Yeah, if they're not sure and they're a bit uncertain.
Yeah.
Would Taylor and Aziz be your consistent front two then if you were...
At the moment, yes.
Yeah,
I think they would.
Yeah, I think in the summer we got 4 forwards, didn't we? I think obviously the idea was to go with the 3-4-3 formation. We could go that, and then that obviously went after a little while. Yeah. How do you think, in terms of the question we were talking about Bayos, what Bayo is your favourite at the moment?
Well, it's difficult, really, and there's such a conveyor belt of players. It's very hard to get attached to players sometimes. But I think I like the sort of presence and the spark and the skill that Kyle Taylor brings to the team. I'm still not quite sure that we're using him in the right manner. And he seems to have what I call headlitis. He sort of drifts out to the wing to get the ball, where that's probably other people's job to get it and feed him. Maybe that's frustration or just the way he's asked to play. I'm not sure, but I'd rather see him played centrally and used properly, maybe.
How do you feel that frustration could be taken out? Because it's obvious we saw on Tuesday night where he did get frustrated.
Yes,
and he did do that. Does that worry you as a forward, or do forwards need that sometimes?
I think, perhaps if we're going back to the word spark again, I'm pleased he's got that in his locker maybe, but he does have to be careful because the last two games, I think he could have seen that on both occasions, and if I can see that, then surely other teams will see that, and they'll either double mark him to frustrate him, or they'll try and wind him up.
To around that sparkiness, we always get a bit of sparkiness in our London derby. This is a big one today. You say we had one, the last time you were here to see a first team game when we were here was about 30 years ago. Do you remember?
It was the 6-2 match.
Oh wow, okay. Which era would have that been? Who are we talking about then?
I think Dean Thomas scored twice. Bill Hodges' rain show. Your original crazy game. So it's a good day.
Yeah. Expecting another one today?
I'm not expecting 6-2 today, but it should be a feisty one. I mean, they've got some players. I don't think they'll play the same way Wickham did. As you say, it's a London derby. They'll look to be going up. We'll look to try and get back to some of the form that we've had in previous games. So, competitive. It'll certainly be that.
I think it's probably Sammy Moore, first time against us. Do you think that could be a key battle in that midfield area, maybe up against Jay Reeves, possibly trapping him there?
Yes, I think their midfield and midfield are both their points through. Sammy won't want to be on the losing side, nor will perhaps the players who jumps in possibly with us. So I don't see it being a kick fest between them, but it'll be lively enough, yeah.
Cheers, Ray. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, a massive thank you then to George, Julian, Jasmine and Ray for joining us at Leyton Orient, and also a big thank you to Rita Ora, who was present during that Ray interview. And thank you very much for continuing to listen. And thank you to Ray, and apologies for some of the audio there. You've got the PA in the background we can't do anything about. I'm just a bit gutted, actually, Stu, that Rita Ora wasn't actually there in person for us to interview as well. Imagine that.
I can imagine a conversation with him riveting about AFC Wimbledon.
We might have veered away from AFC Wimbledon, I must say. Of course, Rita Ora is, of course, Stu, she's probably on my list of top 5 celebrities that I would really love to meet. Alongside, should we say Alex Jones off of the One Show?
Really?
Yeah. Paige, WWE diva.
There's a theme going on here, Nick.
Rachel Bilson of the OC, and of course Jet from Gladiators.
He must be about 85 now.
Do you know I met Jet once?
You did?
Yeah. She was hosting a Millennium Barn Dance at the Yeovil Aerodrome.
Wow. Words fail me.
Anyway, once again, thank you very much to those of you who joined us. It was an absolute pleasure to speak to all of you, Julian, Jasmine and George, who I was meeting for the first time, and Ray, of course, we've known for a little while. But can't speak highly enough of you guys. Thank you very much for agreeing to be on the show. Your opinions and your comments were fantastic. And I think you just showed off and proved what a nice group of fans we have, what really nice people. And sometimes presenters of podcasts and TV shows, they sometimes be disingenuous about their guests. But in reality, it was actually a really real pleasure. And hopefully we'll speak to you all again on the show in the future. Stu, what did you make of our first attempt at a sort of a live roadshow almost podcast at Leyton Orient?
Yeah, I thought it was good. It's something that we've been thinking about a little while. We wanted to make sure we got one of the better games. Obviously, having a London derby, you're guaranteed of getting loads there, and there was loads of us there on Saturday. It was about 1,300, so it was good. Yeah, interesting. We probably didn't think it out too well with the seats because we had to keep going up and down the stands and stuff like that. But I thought we found a good section of fans. We tried to make sure we mixed it up a little bit rather than we could have. We obviously we know quite a few people, don't we? So we could have probably spoke to them. We obviously know Ray Armfield quite well, so we spoke to him. But the funniest one I had was actually with Jasmine, because I found obviously speaking to a younger fan, and I remember when I was all them many years ago when I was younger, and I asked her a question about Sammy Moore about whether she was going to cheer his name and that, and she was very like, no, he's gone, he's forgotten. And I just remember when I was younger, I used to be very similar in that attitude. So it's good to speak to a younger fan base.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm trying to think of players that I saw play against us when I was sort of her age. Do you know what? I honestly don't think there was that many, but I think the likes, maybe I was too nice. Maybe back in my day, the Oyvind Leonhardsons and
John Scales and stuff like that, I remember.
Barnes,
yeah.
I don't think I'd have given them a negative reaction, but I wouldn't have been too happy that they left.
No, but then to be fair, Sammy, we said it, didn't we? That it was interesting that Sammy Moore got some really good receptions before the game.
During the game,
and after the game. But it didn't really, to be fair, Jake Reeves must have forgot about the welcome party because he totally lamped Sammy Moore halfway through the first half and got a booking for it. And as we discussed the game, but another booking. So he's obviously now going to be counting up towards his 10 bookings, which I can see him get another suspension before the season's out.
Which probably suggests we either need to get someone in centre midfield or we look at our other options. We'll come on to that in a second. I just want to touch on what you said there about speaking to people and everything and about the attendance and stuff. It was great. It had that real old school feel I felt at Leyton Orient on Saturday, having all of us packed into an away end. It felt like, for me, it felt like some of the old Premier League days when we take big crowds to Villa or whatever and be packed in one corner, and you really felt that sort of us against the world kind of feeling in that sort of scenario, especially when Leyton Orient, in fairness to them, they had a ground that was pretty well populated. Some fans were making jokes about empty seats. In reality, they fill that stadium pretty well for League Two, and it helps create a really good atmosphere, and it helps with the away atmosphere, I think, as well. It was really nice, actually, sitting in the away end on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. They didn't make loads of noise, did they, really? The attendance was, 6,000, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of which we had 1,300 of it. They weren't that loud. To be fair, they didn't really do much, did they? So I think the second half, they were all biting their fingernails and looking through the gaps in their hands, weren't they?
And moaning about the referee, I think, yeah.
I think from a personal point, and people that are probably next to the home fans, was just the entertainment we had of a pocket of 6 to 8 Leyton Orient fans, which I tend to try not to get involved with other fans. We can have a bit of a banter and that, but these guys were just funny as anything. But the problem is that they had a female steward that just basically told them off, and it was quite embarrassing for some youths about 16 or 18 who were giving it quite a bit of a largen to us, being told off by their mum, really, it felt like. So, to be fair, we lost about 10 minutes of the game, Nick, didn't we? Because we were just too busy watching them being told off by this female steward.
I couldn't stop laughing about these guys being told off by the steward. But to be fair, Stu, it just brought me back to my working week. I spend my working week watching women tell off young men or young boys, and it was just an extension of my day-to-day life, really. But well, I don't know. They were
entertaining, weren't they?
They were. Let's leave it at that. To go back to the game, we're going to talk about the game as a whole in a second. I want to actually come back because you mentioned Jake Reeves coming there with a suspension. I touched on a replacement for him. George Frankham in a centre midfield place. I actually think this is a goal. I think in future, George Frankham's best position for us will be in the centre midfield. Now, I think we had a period, it might have been last season, the season before, he played about half a dozen games or something in that position, and he looked just quality. He looked like he was dictating the game with his passing. And on Saturday, I think in a more central role, he was actually a really important player for us.
Yeah, I agree. And it's also interesting with George Frankham because I think at the moment we've got some of our fan base that have a perception of George, and I don't think no matter what George does at the moment, that perception is not going to change. Very similar to Aziz last year, but we've been chatting on social media, haven't we, during the week, especially after Saturday, and some people felt George didn't really have a good game at all. But I'm with you, Nick. You know, we changed the formation. For those of you who love your formations and stuff like that, Orient were getting a lot of success early on, and they seemed to look at being attacking the diagonal balls, so they were hitting the diagonals and their forwards were getting on to, well, Meads and Barry Fuller. They gave up with Meads after a little while because he was winning quite a lot of ball, but we just couldn't get the grips with their midfield. But once we then changed it, we went to what we did against Portsmouth, played the diamond. So we played Danny Bullman, Jake Reeves in the two middles, and then we played George sort of in behind, didn't we? And then we played Sean Rigg at the top of the diamond, and George just got involved. He got the ball, he started going past players. They couldn't really get a hold of him, could they, really, in that case?
He found space in that. When Leyton Orient are playing essentially, 3 centre midfielders on top of a back 5 in that second half, and George was actually finding space between the lines and he was getting in the box.
And we did well, you know. Yes, we all know that we had the extra man for a good half an hour, but we, after about 30 minutes, once we changed the formation, we had a good spell for 10, 15 minutes at the end of the first half against 11 where George was instrumental. Riggy looks good in that position. Riggy looks better, to be fair, sometimes playing at the tip of the diamond and linking in, because he's got that ability to go either way, and he can play out front. You restrict yourself from the wide. You're looking at Meads and you're looking at Danny. You're looking at Barry Fuller getting forward. So you're looking at for your width. But we've tried it a couple of times. So I don't think it's a desperation. I think it's something we've obviously worked at. And it'd be interesting to see what we do, because we've now got 2 weeks now to get some good training in. From what I understand, the guys are off over the weekend. I think they've been given a weekend off and then go back on Monday, from my understanding, and then to work on formations. But I think it's probably something that we could look at. I would argue, though, it does need your full-backs to be a bit more adventurous. And I don't know whether we've got possibly, I think Meadsy is very much one that would build into it. Both of them will charge up and down there. But I think it's something we may look at, because we can actually outnumber the midfielders in there. And I think George Frankham sometimes looks better in that position than he does out wide.
Now, the other issue we were speaking to the fans about before the game was the selection dilemma up front, with lots of our fans now clamouring for Adebayo Aziz to get a starting place ahead of Adebayo Akinfenwa, and I think everyone we spoke to was of the opinion that Aziz should start. Akinfenwa did start. Of course, Akinfenwa would score the equaliser, but he was assisted by the substitute Adebayo Aziz. Where are we headed? Are we in a situation where we've got 4 strikers who we can just interchange quite happily? Because despite the criticism of Bayo this season, he's scored, well, just one shy of what Aziz has got, I think, now. So it's not like he's forgotten how to score goals as well as anything else. We've got 4 players up there who conceivably can start. I'd actually argue maybe Tom Elliott's the one at the minute that might be 4th in line now.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think if you look at a pecking order, I think you're going to go obviously Lyle Taylor. Even though Lyle hasn't scored for 3 or 4 games. Bit of 3 or 4 games, isn't it? Probably more than that, actually. I've not really looked at that side of it. But you feel from Lyle, his all-round game, you get a lot from him, especially what I love about forwards is defending from the front. Lyle's great at that, and that's what I think is important. Bayo, by consideration, is weak at that. So, Bayo, we know what Bayo gives you. And Bayo did look a bit more mobile on Saturday. I still don't know if fire is in his belly. I just don't sense that there's this this fire from Bayo, and I personally wouldn't have started him. I've made no secret of that. I would have gone with Aziz. But in the end, Akinfenwa scored, isn't he? And we went 4 up. We were brave. I don't think you can get any braver than going with 4 up front. I thought sometimes there was too many cooks in terms of sometimes we stood crosses up. You've got Elliot, Bayo and Lyle fighting for the same header. So I don't know whether, in the end, hindsight was a great thing, whether it was the right thing to do. But we have got a pecking order. I think you go with Lyle. I probably would go with C second, Bayo third. And, yeah, Tom Elliott. I don't think Tom Elliott's worked. I think we were aware when he came from Cambridge, the rumours from Cambridge was that he was spent more time on the treatment table than he did on the pitch, and we've seen that this first half of the season. So be interested to see what we do. But we've definitely got threats there. I just don't know whether we've actually clicked and got everyone on singing on the same hymn sheet at the moment.
What did you make of Leyton Orient then as a team that are challenging for promotion? I don't think they particularly offered much of a threat. Once they'd gone 1-0 up, they seemed to be quite content with that to see the game out. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't honestly say come away from there and I felt one player stood out, even with there's Josh Simpson, isn't it, up front? It was the leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
I'll be truthful, the goal he scored, which I've looked back and I still think it's a goalkeeping error. I think once you get a hand to it, you parry it past the post, in my opinion. But I didn't think he caused us that much problems. You had then Marquis on loan, who's a Millwall lad who's on loan. Marquis, who we've looked at a few times. I think we've missed out on him a few times where he's gone elsewhere or he's gone back into the Millwall squad. But I didn't look through their team and really think, Sammy, I thought had a good first half an hour, naturally seemed up for it. But I felt once we went to the Diamond, we stifled the midfield area, and I didn't think he was anywhere near effective. I wouldn't say. We all know they've spent a decent budget. I think they've got a decent squad in terms of Leyton Orient, so they probably will be later on in the season, maybe when teams get injured, etc., they will be a bit stronger. But I didn't come away from there thinking, especially, it's difficult to say they're down to 10 men, but I didn't think from the first half an hour, I didn't go, wow, these are a great team. And I would say I probably would think they were still probably finishing around the playoff positions. But I don't see them being an automatic 3.
Who then, to conclude our little bit about the match then, before I do that, before I ask you actually who you'd give man of the match to, did you think it was a red card?
Yes. Yeah, I said to you at the time, I look back at it, I think sometimes, yes, he was late, he was a fraction late, but he's gone in he's on a yellow card. If you're on a yellow card, you don't really want to go in the way he did, and, I think we've got to be, Paul Robinson could have made a lot more of that. He's an old-fashioned Millwall hard nut, and he don't go down and he don't stay down for long either. I don't think that's in his makeup. But I thought it was a sending off all day long. You're on a yellow card. And to be fair, Ian Hendon, the Leyton Orient manager, alluded to that. He said he didn't think it was a sending off, but also reminded Marquis of not going around like that when you're on a yellow card. So I think he alludes to the fact that he was being a bit silly.
Fair enough then. So now I will ask you then, who was your man of the match on Saturday?
Difficult one, wasn't it, really? Because I felt in terms of, it probably would go to a midfielder. I felt I would give it probably to Jake Reeves, purely for the fact that when we were chasing the game and trying to get equaliser, everything went through Reeves, and they were playing 6 across the middle. Reeves, I like the fact now that he could have played the easy balls a lot of times and try and go out wide, which is where the threat was going to be. But Reeves loves to give a little bit of a good and go now. A give and go.
Wash and go.
Wash and go. But Reeves now, if you look at Reeves when he's playing, he does like to do the eyes. So what he does, he opens his body out to go wide with the right foot. What he does, he just drags it round and drags it into a forward. And I think he tries to get a 1-2 off Lyle. He did that in the Leyton Orient game when he was managed to get into the box and stuff. So it's no secret. I think James Reeves is quiet at the moment, and I just thought he was outstanding again on Saturday.
You do have a bit of a man crush on Jake Reeves at the moment, but it's understandable. Is there a villain of the week? Is there one?
I'll say the week. I think Ben Wilson's had better weeks.
Yeah.
I think he was at. Well, I don't think we all know he was at fault.
He was at fault. Yeah.
Even the biggest fans of Ben would say that he was at fault for the Dagenham game. But I called it at the time, and I've not changed my mind. I think when you get a big hand on the ball that he did for the goal at Orient, I think you've got to get around the post. And I wouldn't say he's a villain, but I think Ben's had better weeks. And it'd be interesting because, like I say, he's on loan now, isn't he, until January, and we've got James Shea, who's apparently ready for a under-21 game or a London Senior Cup game very soon. So Shea's knocking back on the door now to get his number one place back.
To be honest with you, I'd imagine as soon as James Shea comes back, you have to put him in. I don't see a point, with all due respect to Ben Wilson, he's doing us a favour, we're not doing Cardiff a favour. So it makes no sense to me. If James Shea is fit, then he goes straight back in, surely.
I agree.
Right, Leyton Orient then, as a whole then, let's talk about the day out and some of the other points of discussion that came up speaking to George and Julian and Jasmine and Ray and Rita. But before we do that was your first visit to Leyton Orient. We touched on what you thought of the stadium and sort of the fans there as well. What did you make of the day out in terms of getting to Leyton Orient, what you thought of the ground, the concourses, the staff, all those sorts of away day things, the programme, all those sorts of things. If you were to give it a rating out of 10, for instance, as an away trip, what would you give it?
Yeah, I got a good vibe from it. I probably would give it probably around a very close 7 to 8. It gets a bigger loading because it's local. It's in East London. I liked it. It's the one remaining London ground that I had to tick off. So I've done them all now in London, which I was pleased at. It was interesting where it was situated because it just it reminded me of West Ham. It's obviously not far from West Ham either, is it? But it's got the same vibe walking down that high street with all the markets, etc. And the ground, obviously, it's not as big as West Ham, but I like the fact that if you bought a flat in the corner of the ground, you basically got a season ticket thrown in. I love that. It reminded me of a very small scale of Canvey Island. When Canvey Island, we went there back in non-league when they had the flats overlooking it on the side.
Grays.
Was it Grays?
Yeah.
It wasn't Canvey Island. I don't think it was Canvey Island, was it? It's close. It's in the same part of the world, isn't it? It's in Essex, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, apologies for people in Essex, but I got my Greys confused with my Canveys. Sorry, A's. And I remember I don't know. I looked to our left because from it was it 3 or 4 corners? Have all 4 corners got flats?
All 4 corners, yeah. It's like Brentford, but Leyton Orient with flats.
And there was to our left in the corner between the away fans and the home fans behind the goal. There was probably about a balcony full of about 12 lads with some beers watching a game. And I just thought, that ain't bad, is it? Do you know what I mean? You might still be a West Ham fan or Tottenham fan, but you can actually, you can probably watch a game from your balcony. I don't think that's too bad. So it was quite nice. It had that little bit of a feel to it, but I really enjoyed it. Ground's decent. It looked like, I like the way these seats were elevated. I can imagine there's a good view from the side, the main stand, although we did notice, didn't we, on the way round that there was a ticket for £39. I don't know where that was. That wouldn't have been a dugout, really, didn't it, for Rio and that? So.
They seem to be on the stand opposite to us. They had this sort of bar stool standing area right at the top of the stand opposite.
That's right.
Was that the sort of gallery area where you were going to be paying £40? I'm not sure, but it looked like they were almost inside. It reminded me very much of. Well, remember we went to some random non-league ground. Was it Brentford Senior or somewhere? We played Brentford or someone where we all just stood in the bar overlooking the pitch and watched from there.
Yeah, we had a few games like that, haven't we? Yeah, when it was so cold outside, you just stayed in there. I know a few of the club officials that went to the Leyton Orient under-21 game at Brisbane Road early in the season.
Yeah. And
I remember very much, to be fair, the media guy at Wimbledon, Chris Slavin, I remember talking to him and he was... Is that another name drop there? It was, wasn't it? I do apologise. But Slavo was talking to me and saying that the view is really, really good. It's quite elevated and the view is really good from there. So I liked it. I really did. And I must admit, I don't want them to get relegated. Sorry, I apologise to Leyton Orient fans. I don't want to get promoted this season because I really fancy another game back there if we don't end up getting promoted ourselves.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to revisit there because, as you say, it's very easy to get to. No hassles or problems at all getting there. Very easy journey. Close to the station. Yeah, ticks a lot of boxes.
But you're right, the stand laid itself to an atmosphere. So the atmosphere is really good, and I know the players have commented back on the Dons player this week. They've commented on how loud the fans were, and it's a shame we didn't get a winner later on. It'd been quite mad celebrations, but We're there in a fine voice, and I think that game probably should be like your Boxing Day game,
Boxing Day would be amazing,
or
wouldn't it?
something like that. I think because I don't know why it is. I know we get paired in with. Saying that this year we've got Bristol Rovers and Exeter, so God knows where that comes from, but possibly in it. But I think that'd be a cracking game. But no, I really enjoyed Leyton Orient. I'd heard good things about it, and I wasn't disappointed with it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and look forward to going there again.
Definitely going back, and a big thank you as well. They might be listening, I don't know, but all the staff at Leyton Orient as well were really friendly and very, very helpful as well. So all in all, a good day out. Thank you very much, Leyton Orient. What I noticed on Saturday, which ties in with those that we spoke to, including George and Jasmine, the age range of our fan base. Now, a lot has been said about Premier League, and we've talked about ticket prices, and the age profile of fans is getting older and older and older, okay? But actually, the spectrum at our level, and you saw it on Saturday, is a broad range. We've got very, very young ones. Obviously, we saw Lee Finch there on Saturday with his young lad as well. And then the guy sat next to us who, shall we say, are probably hitting their, I think it's fair to say, and I won't mind us saying it if they're listening, their sort of retirement age as well. But I think it's great. I think it all contributes to sort of the family club we are. But I don't think it negated the atmosphere or anything like that. I still think we had a decent atmosphere. It was just good that we could all take part in it, and it just shows how important it is to bring through the younger fans as we head on to a new life in Wimbledon at a new stadium.
Yeah, I agree. I've been to a majority of away games this year, and to be fair, even as I remember going up to York, in the terrace in there, you still got, let's say kids, you got, say, probably about 9, 10, 11. I think it's because at League 2 level, if you're a parent, you can take your kids, you can take them away from home, knowing they get a decent view and stuff. And I must admit, I think it's good for them to get out and about and see everything away from Kings Meadow, because there's some good grounds out in League 2, and I think you're right. We have got a good spectrum. Lee Finch we saw on Saturday, who's got his little boy now, who's getting older, but Lee looks like he's being spotted by somebody out of the homeless. To be fair, because he needs to have a shave, doesn't he? Really.
Hi Lee.
Hi Lee.
You're right.
He has got a proper beard of him now. Do you know what I mean? But it's good. Like I say, he brings his son along, and we know quite a few people now who bring their kids along. And equally, you've got the older, you've got the school, the old school people from when we were going away games when we were younger now, in their 40s, etc., 30s, 40s, and they still go. So you got your singing bunch. We sung in numbers. Where we were, there was a lot of older people, wasn't there, John, to be fair? And
we fitted in quite well, didn't we?
we fitted in quite well. The guy next to me had the racing on his mobile phone, which was... It's brilliant. Technology is great nowadays, where you can watch a game and also put your headphones in and watch the racing on a tablet. It wasn't a tablet; it was an iPhone, wasn't it? So, social media I love. We've got involved in social media heavily this year. We obviously with a podcast, and I did a Periscope as well from the ground. So social media is great. I think it encourages fans to get along, and I was really pleased. I think I suppose we're alluding to the fact that we're aware that the Merton Council are going to hear the planning application on the 10th of December. So, and with the news recently of the Environment Agency with the flood risks being non-existent, it's quite a positive time, isn't it? It's like for those Wimbledon fans who've lost not too short in get for Christmas, well, we could have a Christmas present probably a couple of days early, the way it's going now, couldn't we, in terms of confirmation of the new ground? So it's all good news. All good news, Nick.
We will our podcast will obviously be launched next Thursday in the morning, so we'll get a chance to speak more in depth about the stadium issue next Thursday. But yes, it's coming to a head, isn't it? The meeting is next Thursday, isn't it? Is it the 10th of December?
It's Thursday. It's Thursday the 10th, and I think a few details, and I say yes, we will go into it a bit more and give you some more details next Thursday. But my understanding is it's going to be at the Merton Chambers, and they're looking to do a live feed into the Civic Centre, which is the Civic Centre is Morden, isn't it? Is that right? Is that what?
The Morden Civic Centre, Stu, yes, in Morden, yes.
In Morden, strangely enough. So, I must admit, I think I'm probably going to head over there, next Thursday, just because I think it's going to be... I don't actually know if we're going to know anything on that day. I think there's going to be a vote done from the information that's coming out But then with these things nowadays, I think through word of mouth, you'll probably know what's happened. I don't think they're going to keep it too secret.
No, I think we'll know. I think we'll know.
I think we know. So it's an exciting time, and I think, alluding back onto what we were talking about with the question, yeah, we've got a really good catchment ages at the moment of fans, and one thing that we can't do at the moment is we can't get the kids in. You'll find a lot of people of maybe who are going to Sellers Park in the 90s and still going now. Their first involvement actually was going through maybe schools in terms of free tickets. And
I'm sitting here with my hand up as one of those people.
And the football community, which did a great job and does a great job now. We're so active in the community now. But we can't really offer them a ticket in the John Smith stand. No. Because to be fair, they stood behind Neil Hardy. There'd be one going out after the moaners behind him. But we can't offer them any tickets. So if we can get into a new ground, we can start doing incentives. We can get kids coming from the schools. The kids are our next generation. And it's exciting times. I can't wait, I must admit. Sometimes the results of this season are a bit immaterial for myself, because I'm thinking more of a, let's get the news to go home. Of course, we don't get relegated because that kills everything off. But sometimes, in a way, I've said to you before, haven't I, that football, sometimes I've not been overly disappointed if we've got hammered somewhere or if we've dropped points, because it's always the background is actually we are a major step closer at getting home.
Yeah, there's something a lot bigger in the pipeline at the minute than instant success or being promoted or anything like that. Definitely, though, totally agree. Can't agree more. And that's why it was so good to see George and Jasmine there on Saturday, and just showing you the family link as well, passing down the generations through the family,
Definitely.
Bringing your kids along, or any other sort of young relatives. My niece, for instance, of course.
Definitely.
Hello, Charlotte, if you're listening. But we've been to Ray, and he was mentioning coming to Leyton Orient, Brisbane Road, many years prior to Saturday's game to see a 6-2, a classic. And obviously Ray's another fan that's got, I believe, his family, of course, are another example of bringing through the generations to come and watch Wimbledon. But made me think about previous London derbies, as Leyton Orient was a London derby. We'll quickly go through some London derby memories. Are there any particular London clubs that you enjoyed playing against in previous lives? London grounds that you enjoyed going to as an away fan?
Yeah, definitely. Highbury, used to love going to. Was Highbury? Everyone jokes about Highbury or Library, but I loved going to Arsenal. We had some really good wins there as well. So I used to enjoy that. West Ham was probably my favourite.
Yeah. And
we will go through many of our favourite games, but I still go back to when we beat West Ham 4-3 at Upton Park midweek.
It's an unforgettable game, that.
It is. It's probably one of those ones where, West Ham under the floodlights, a lot of football fans talk about Upton Park under the lights. It's just got a special atmosphere. And it was great that night. 3-1 up, West Ham giving us loads of grief, especially some fans on the right-hand side of us.
Oh, yes.
Hartson and Ian Wright tearing us apart. And, a lot of fans that we knew left. And obviously, everyone probably knows it. If they don't know, read up about it. For the younger fans, it definitely was one of those you got to be there evenings. But 4-3 winner late on, and then I remember just saying to a lot of mates I was around, right, how are we going to take a smile on our face to try and walk up to the West Ham station, because there were some West Ham fans that weren't very happy that evening of being made to look a bit stupid. So that walk along the High Street up to Upton Park train station, I don't know how I kept a smile on my face. But I loved West Ham. To be fair, the Palace derbies were great when we used to have, obviously, at Sellers Park.
Yeah.
We used to have some great ones, didn't we? We used to have some great ones there.
Yeah, how can we not mention the Palace famous 3-0 victory at Selhurst Park with Carl Leaburn scoring twice?
Carl Leaburn.
What a legendary evening that was.
I wish with Carl Leaburn, again with social media and pictures, I would just remember Carl Leaburn scoring and looking up to the heavens.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those ones of penny for your thoughts, because most people probably think he's praising God. I just thought he'd look at him thinking, how the hell have I done that?
Yeah. he's probably acclimatising to this idea. Hold on, the ball's come off me and gone in the net. How's that happened?
That was a great night, that was.
It was. Obviously, we've had some other sort of classic London derby games, I think, through the years. Chesington and Hook, obviously, the big one. If Chesington's in Zone 6, isn't it? It counts as being a London derby, doesn't it?
Just about.
Yeah, just about. And some other... Who else? We London Senior Cup games we had, to the likes of Ilford and Barkingside, my word. They don't quite rank up there for me alongside the likes of West Ham away or Tottenham away or Famously Fulham away, famously twice, I think, in 2 seasons. The 3-0 drubbing in the FA Cup when Damien Francis was playing at left back. And then the following season when we should have beaten them. And if my father is listening, I have not forgotten that Luis Boamorte cannot stay on his feet. Okay? Nobody touched him. He just went over. And you got a last-minute penalty and you got a point, and it ended our playoff dream. And thank you, Luis Boamorte. It's good to see that Arsene Wenger taught you something in your time at Arsenal.
And can I just say also, talk about London derbies, about the non-league side of it, I'm almost positive it is Bedfont Town that is on the end of the Heathrow runway.
Yeah, Bedfont, yeah.
I used to love that game. I think we had them pre-season, if I remember properly. And I mean, to be fair, it could have been a great game on the pitch, but all I remember me doing is basically being a plane spotter for the evening.
Oh, of course.
And just, I have to say, it's probably, if you like planes, and it's probably the best ground ever. You can just be a plane spotter and not look a bit geeky because you can be at a football ground doing it. Yeah, that's probably one of the ones. It does count. It's a Heathrow, isn't it? So it's technically a London derby.
Isn't it just? But some great London derby memories. Thank you very much, Stu. Before we go, shall we cram in a quick birthdays game? I've got some good ones today. You'll like them all, I promise.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, we have 5 today, but here we go. First up, Britney Spears.
Ooh. Hit me, baby, one more time.
Oh, that's a soundbite for it. Oh, that soundbite's going to last forever. Christmas clip show. There we go.
So let me think. She must have. Oh, I reckon she must be 35.
Oh, Stu, do you know what? Have you got one bang on yet? Because you keep getting within so close. She's 34.
Damn, she looks older.
That was very good though. Very good. Yeah.
We gave something that I knew.
Well, I'm going to give you more that you know of now with Nelly Furtado.
Nelly Furtado. Crikey.
She's like a bird.
I'm not going to start singing or give lines. It'd be bad. She's younger. She must be 31.
She's gone the other way. 37.
She really older?
Well, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Actress Lucy Liu.
Lucy Liu. She's from
Angels fame.
And also Elementary.
Yes, of course.
She's Elementary. So she's a bit older, I think. She is probably hitting 39.
Do you know what? She's a lot older than that, which is saying something because she doesn't look 47, but she is 47.
And even in HD, she done it at 47. So she's done well with the old work. Well, sorry, the work she's done on her body, of course, not the work she's had done.
Do you mean her body of work?
That's the work.
Yeah.
She done it at 47, doesn't she?
She doesn't look 47. What about Monica Seles?
Monica Seles, she was Czech, wasn't she? Yeah, she was Czech. Yeah, I remember seeing her many years. I went to Wimbledon once.
Wasn't she officially American?
What was her name?
USA.
With the name Seles.
I don't know. I'm going to research this as you decide how old she is.
No, she was a tennis player who got stabbed in the back, wasn't she? So
she was literally stabbed in the back.
She was literally stabbed in the back. So not that we take any joy out of that, because obviously tennis is a one-person game and you don't be stabbed by anybody.
Tennis is a one-person game.
A one-person game. Well, you're on your own, aren't you? You're on your own.
You and your opponent, yeah.
Unless you play doubles, and of course you've got a partner.
Yeah.
And of course it's a very good topic because Jamie and Andy Murray, I forgot his name.
You remember Jamie's name, but not Andy's name.
The very enthusiastic and popular Scottish. They won us the Davis Cup, so yes, congratulations to them all. Of course, they're listening as well. We know that. So,
how old is Monica Seles?
Monica Seles. I've just rambled there, and she must be. She's in her 30s also, I swear she is. So, although she did start very young, to be fair, because they all do start young. 32.
32?
Yes.
Did you say 32?
I said 32.
Oh my word. Can you believe it, Stu?
The day has arrived.
The day has arrived. You're only 10 years out. She's 42.
Really?
She's 42. She's also Yugoslavian, if that exists anymore, so I don't... But she did end up representing the USA, apparently, from 1994 onwards.
Obviously, I must have had a gap in the market for decent female player.
Right, I'll leave that one there. Final one then. Mira Reader. I've got 3 to choose from. Which one should I go for? As we were talking about this earlier, Linda Higgins from Canby Island in Essex.
Well, Essex is quite a place where I imagine younger people are from.
Don't imagine that. Don't imagine that.
I'm going to keep my 30s theme. I'm going to go for 36.
Well, there's a 6 in it. She's 69. Great age.
Happy birthday to her.
To Linda. Well done, Linda. Well done, Stu. We started off well and progressively got worse. Let's do the Lone East things. Let's get back to football. As we have not got a game this weekend to preview because we got knocked out of the FA Cup and we haven't got a game, Stu, you've actually been doing a little bit of research on the players that we have currently out on loan. Can you update us?
Yeah, definitely. So we thought it would be a good idea to do a loan watch. Obviously, we're going to, I think as we get our under-21s now start to progress, we're going to get them out a little bit for some experience. So Tom Beer on the Bishop Stortford, who, for those of you not aware, you're non-league football, they are in a Conference South, 13th at the moment. Tom was involved in a 3-0 defeat at Tilbury on his debut for Tunbridge, for Bishop Stortford. But however, this Tuesday night, he was involved in the Hertfordshire Senior Cup quarter-final against Hempstead and was involved in setting goal for them in a 3-0 win. So he's had 2 3-0 games and been on the end of each of them. So looks like he's getting some good experience in the Conference South. And David Fitzpatrick having a decent time. Tunbridge are second in the Ryan Premiership, point behind Dulwich Hamlet at the top. So he's obviously gone into a team that's playing well. He scored in his debut against Met Police, our old friends from there, in a 3-0 win. And Tuesday night, this is a cracker. He set up Nathan Elder for an equaliser at Stainstown, who had no other than former Womble Jack Turner in goal. So
that's a great stat. It's not a stat, but I do love that. That's brilliant. So David Fitzpatrick on loan from AFC Wimbledon crosses for former AFC Wimbledon striker Nathan Elder to score a goal against former AFC Wimbledon goalkeeper Jack Turner.
That's brilliant. And he's doing well there. Like I say, scored and he set up an equaliser. I've been looking through their match reports and stuff like that, as you do, because I'm quite sad, and his name is featured heavily. So it's not a surprise. I like Fitzpatrick, and hopefully he comes back fit, stronger, confident, and he can go straight back into our team for the Christmas period.
Right, that's fantastic, Stu. Thank you very much. We'll keep you updated with the loan players as the season progresses. I think that's actually a great shout, Stu, so thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for joining me on the show today, as well, as always.
No
and
problem.
Thank you once again to George and Julian and Jasmine and Ray for joining us at Leyton Orient. This week, if I can just remind you, please, if you are listening on iTunes, just go over to your iTunes, find us in the iTunes store, subscribe if you haven't already, give us a little bit of a rating, maybe, I wouldn't say we're 5 stars yet, but, 4 3/4 maybe. Give us a little bit of a rating there for us, if you could, please. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, 9YRS Podcast, and on Facebook, facebook.com/9YRS Podcast. And if you want to make any comments to us in private, for instance, we do have an email address. It is 9YRS@may14.co.uk. So please give us a shout there. Stu, this Monday, I think the under-21s are at Merstham, are they not? Are you going to be doing updates on the Twitter for that?
I will do, yeah. Unfortunately, this week's game got called off due to, I think, just basically the pitch wasn't in great condition. So, yeah, under-21 game. I can't remember who it's against. I'll be totally truthful with you, but I will be there and be doing updates on the Twitter site on the 9 Year podcast. So please join us, and I'll do my best to update you on how we get on.
Thank you very much, Stu. As it is now officially Advent, we're going to play out on one of my favourite Christmas songs. Enjoy your football-free Saturday, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, jingity-jing, it's Dominic the donkey. Jingity-jing, the Italian Christmas donkey. La, 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 Santa's got a little friend, his name is Dominic, the cutest little donkey, you never see him kick. When Santa visits his paisans with Dominic he'll be, because the reindeer cannot climb the hills of Italy. Hey, jingity-jing, it's Dominic the donkey. Jingity-jing, the Italian Christmas donkey. La, la, la.